All right, hey guys, we're at the field. We're ready to do the Maiden on the Focke Wulf FW-190, and you can see there it is again. I kind of mentioned with the Dynam Focke that I wanted to wait for calm days to do evaluations, but honestly, I get the feeling that if I wait, you guys are going to be waiting a long time between videos. So come back after the break and we'll talk about the game plan. Before we get to the flying, I just have to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by BitGo Hobby. They provided the Focke Wulf FW-190 for review. And if you're in the market for Dynam warplanes or scale planes like that Grand Cruiser we just did or the Focke, make sure you look at BitGo Hobby. They're a good partner to the channel. They've got a very comprehensive website. They can get you airplanes, electronics, receivers, radios, you name it, they've got it. So make sure you give them a crack if you're out there in the market for this type of equipment. As far as the Maiden goes, I just want to let you know that I'm sticking with the book CG. So I forgot, I think it's 70 to 75, but I split it right down the middle. So I went with 72.5. That's what I always do. I've got the stock Detram 500 kV motor and the stock ESC. This is a Skylord ESC that came with the plane. Everything on this plane is box stock. There isn't a single upgrade on it. Even the propeller is a 13 by 7 by 3, and I haven't even painted the tips yellow yet. I will, but I haven't done it yet. Before I take off, you guys know I like to do a safety check before I go. I get to the rear of the airplane and I look at the control surfaces. So what I like to do is I'll call out the position I expect, and then I get that position, and that helps me avoid that muscle memory where you see guys just kind of go like that and go, yep, well, it looks like good, looks good, and then they take off and their ailerons are reversed. It helps me avoid that problem. Okay, so I expect the elevator to go up. It does. I expect the rudder to go right. It does. I expect the right aileron to go up, and it does. And I expect the left aileron to go up, and it does. Okay, and then power, I'm just going to give it a little kiss. Okay, we got power. All right, let's go fly this thing. All right, guys, here goes. This is the maiden flight of the Dynam Focke Wulf FW-190. No stabilizer on this plane. This is just box stock. This is the way you'll get it if you buy it. All right, here we go. Wow, that lifted off really easy because of the wind. But nice and easy liftoff. I mean, I was probably at, oh man, I want to say 25% power. I mean, I had virtually no power in that at all, but the wind got under it and lifted it up. I'm already trimmed. I hit the one-click trim on it, and that was it. It's already trimmed. It took a couple clicks of up, couple clicks of left, and that was about it. Beautiful. Beautiful. So you remember me talking a little bit about upgrading these Dynam 500 kV motors to the 650 kV variety. I really want to give this thing a chance the way it sits. You know, on my Corsair, I never gave it a shot. I just immediately went to the 650, but that feels pretty good. And you can see on that windsock, I've got some wind to deal with, so that's not bad at all. I'm gonna get up just a little bit and do a couple little maneuvers, and oh man, nice roll. Oh my gosh, that roll rate's excellent. Very light on the wings. Nice straight tracking loop. Love it. Well, since everything's working good so far, I'm going to do a yaw test, which means I'm going to go out in front of myself. I'm going to give Chris a minute to catch up with me, but I'm going to go out directly in front of myself, and I'm going to do a straight up climb, and I'm going to kill the power, and I'm going to see which way it drops. If the nose drops straight down, then I don't have to worry about the yaw trim. If I get a directional drop, meaning left or right, I'll counter it with trim in the opposite direction. So here we go. I'm going to climb straight out in front of myself. Up in the air we go. And off with the power. Perfectly straight drop. Man, nice. What that tells me is there's very little modification and trim on this plane out of the box. So that tells me I got everything square and true in terms of the build. The wings are nice and straight, the fuselage is straight, the surfaces are all straight. Everything looks really nice. Man, this plane is just a little buttercup. Nothing to it. It feels very light. Honestly, it feels, you know, I'm not an aeronautical engineer, so I can't tell you. I haven't done any wing load calculations against power, but I can tell you just based on the fact that I fly a lot of airplanes, this one feels very light on the wings. Nice, slow, easy flyby right over the center line. Beautiful. I love the axial roll rate. Very, very nimble. That was right down the middle, man. That's the drone, probably a 40% battery. What do you think, Chris? You getting some visuals on it? It is, man. This thing is a really light airplane. I mean, it feels really good. Very, very nimble. Yeah, man, as far as Warbirds go in the air, this thing is easy. I'll be curious to see how it does on the ground, because remember, I didn't do anything to the rake on the wheels at all, and normally on Dynam planes I do, but on this one, nothing. Very nice, man. Everything about this plane is straight and true. I like it. That's all I've got to say is I like it. All right, that's enough messing around. I'm gonna practice some approaches because I like to make sure I can get it on the ground with plenty of battery left. Man, look at that, I made it. I'm counting that as a win. Look at that crosswind, guys. And this thing stayed on its mains. Lovely. That is a victory. You know what you do now? It's Miller time, man. I'm parking this sucker. We're gonna do a wrap up and that's it. You can't beat that flight for a maiden. That was perfect. Exactly what we needed. Outstanding. All right, we just finished the maiden on the Dynam Focke Wulf FW-190, and I got to tell you, I I don't have a single complaint. I mean, it got off the ground. You saw the liftoff was 25% power, virtually nothing. Yeah, we had some wind, no flaps. There were no tricks to get off the ground, and very low power setting, mainly due to that wind. You know, that wind is what kind of helped with that. In the air, the 500 kV. I don't know. Maybe in my old age, I'm just getting a little. I don't need it to be as chunky. I don't know, but the 500 kV felt fine even with that wind. I can imagine, like my Corsair with that 650 is probably beast mode compared to this, but it flew around just fine. And I said probably maybe 6 times in that video that this thing was nimble, and what I meant by that was that every maneuver around an axis, it just felt very light, and like the plane wasn't lugging and didn't have any problems making movements about an axis.
I couldn't believe how well it tracked on the ground. It ran so well. I mean, better than any plane I owned.
On the ground? Oh, when you were doing the taxiing around?
And everything, it was smooth as silk.
Yeah, it's got that. It does have quite a drop. That's maybe, you know, I talk a lot about geometry and rake and tipping over and all that stuff, and I'm starting to wonder if one of the reasons that this handled so well on the ground is because look at the length of those gear, the main gear, look how long they are. And because they're so tall, look at the angle that it sits on the ground on, right? So you got to remember, this is like a triangle from that axis line on the gear back to that wheel. This is the pivot point. So because those gear up front are very tall and that's sitting pretty low to the ground, I think it gives a little extra traction to the back. Because I agree, taking off, it was pretty easy to keep it straight. Yeah. You know, when you run a review channel, one of the things you got to do is point out the faults, but I can't name anything. I mean, everything on the plane, if you watch the build video, everything on the plane went together, piece of cake. And the Maiden Flight, it performed exactly as expected. I'd say it's a solid plane. I am still dealing with a little bit of wind, and if you paid very close attention, you'll notice that I say that I'm going to do a couple of approaches and practice before I put it down, and that's mainly to get a feel for what it takes to keep it stable in an approach configuration. And then if I feel good about it, I'll reduce the power and see if I can get it to set down. And that's exactly what happened today. But just like any other warplane, you kind of want to fly this one down to the ground. I wouldn't have wanted to, like on the Waco or my Millennium Master or any of those sport planes, I'll basically start a glide slope, and once I start that glide slope and I have it steep enough, most of the time I just kill power and keep the wings flat and it'll coast right in. On these planes, I like to maintain a little bit of power coming in and just basically fly it down the ground. And then when I feel nice and stable, then I chop it. And that's what I did with this plane, and that technique worked just fine. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video on the Dynam Focke Wulf FW-190. And don't forget, Bitco Hobby's helping us out by getting this information out there for you guys, so try and pay them back by taking a look at their website. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not a subscriber yet, I appreciate it if you join us. And for those of you who are subscribers, don't forget that notification bell. That's all I've got for today. Take it easy. See, every time I do this, someone's got to freaking send me email or text me. All right, I meant several times during flying that the plane felt very nimble. Again. So I mentioned several times during... Can you believe this? I swear, man. Here, airplane mode. There we go. Don't mess with me now.